Hi, welcome to She Spice. You know, when superstars drill down into the clouded side of Hollywood, it frequently seems like something straight out of a film. However, at that point, you begin digging into the accounts, and it hits you that this stuff is genuine. We've all caught wind of how Hollywood controls a portion of its stars, with elites and strong figures calling the shots, and famous people who might successfully come to the top. When you take a gander at the proof, these accounts hold a ton of truth. Martin Lawrence, for instance, do you recall 1996 when he supposedly had a mental meltdown? The person was purportedly remaining on the road with no garments, waving up, reviling, and shouting at vehicles. He was in any event, yelling that they were attempting to court him. The media immediately named it a mental meltdown, yet Hollywood appeared to transform it into a joke. I'm an out, and scarcely anybody supported Martin, with the exception of Dave Chapelle. Dave Chapelle discussed how Martin came up in Hollywood from nothing, and how he, at the end of the day, was roused by Martin's excursion. He shared a story from when they were advancing Blue Streak together. During that time, Martin suffered a heart attack and nearly kicked the bucket, yet when Dave asked Martin how he was doing, Martin nonchalantly said it was the best rest he at any point had. That is the ticket extreme. Martin is, when we Blue Streak, we were advancing it, and Martin had a stroke. He nearly kicked the bucket. I resembled, wow, Martin, are you okay? And he said I got the best rest I at any point. Got in my life, Dave then. At that point, offered a fascinating conversation starter. How could somebody as extreme as Martin Lawrence be going around in the road, guaranteeing individuals were attempting to K-word him in the event that there wasn't something a lot further and more obscure happening in the background? So let me ask you this. What's going on in Hollywood that a person that extreme will be on the road, waving and shouting they are attempting to me better believe it? What's happening now? Dave Chapelle additionally went on a narration show to share Martin Lawrence's story and to discuss his own Hollywood encounters, including why he turned down an incredible $50 million. Yet during the meeting, Oprah appeared to be pushing this story that made Dave seem as though he didn't have a clue, practically, like she was attempting to cause him to appear to be insane. This made individuals keep thinking about whether Oprah was essential for the tip-top in Hollywood, who do obscure things after the entirety of she's an influential lady, with associations with influential individuals, and has been charged of some quite terrible stuff herself, like undermining individuals' vocations and not paying them what they're owed. Back to Chapelle. In 2005, he out of nowhere left his colossally fruitful show, and what's more, took off to South Africa. Later in interviews, he made sense of that. He felt disappointed with where the show was heading and required a serious break to sort things out while managing a ton of stress. However, when Dave left, tales began flying. Individuals were guessing a wide range of explanations behind his leave. A few were saying it was about or emotional well-being issues, thoroughly disregarding what Dave had been talking about, expecting to move away. The thing is, by leaving the show, Dave needed to surrender a gigantic $50 million agreement with Funny TV. This was the point he was attempting to make to Oprah, that enormous cash bargains aren't all daylight and rainbows. They accompany serious surprises. Yet Oprah wasn't letting Dave free effectively. She continued squeezing him, practically attempting to make him concede that he had gone crazy. She asked him inquiries like partners revealed you turned out to be progressively jumpy. Would you say you were distrustful? And Dave, in his work of art style, answered with sure. What's a person of color without his neurosis? You win $100. You're actually investigating your shoulder with the Metro partners. You were cited as saying that you had become progressively suspicious. Would you say you were distrustful? Certainly, as a matter of some importance, what is a person of color without his neurosis? Unimportant. I was apprehensive. However, you were worried, which is why there was no inquiry, except that it's extremely unpleasant for somebody to continually stroll behind you and say you're crazy, not easing up as to whether Dave went to a mental clinic in South Africa. Dave, with his unmistakable mind, shot back. So did you go to a mental clinic in South Africa? Definitely. He was tenacious, as at any point he continued to push, and Dave spread it out. Individuals around him were pushing for him to take anti-insane drugs, but he dismissed it, rehashing that Dave was recently worried and jumpy. Dave wasn't having it. However, he spilled more tea, discussing how people were attempting to get him on prescriptions, and he wasn't getting involved with that control game. He directly said, "I'm not taking this medication, man, since I realize these individuals may be attempting to control you or perhaps dishonor you." I was apprehensive the entire time they were attempting to persuade me. I'm crazy. They were attempting to inspire me to take maniacal drugs. Dave kept it genuine, saying no inquiry except that it's extremely upsetting for somebody to continually stroll behind you and say you're crazy prepared. I was apprehensive, like you yet. You were worried that is the reason there's no inquiry except for it's extremely unpleasant for somebody to continually stroll behind you and say you're crazy. The situation resembled a chess match and Dave wasn't playing Oprah's down. He had his explanations behind. Leaving, and he wasn't allowing anybody to meddle with his head in spite of this proof. It seemed like Martin Lawrence at last surrendered to Hollywood's control years after the fact Martin attempted to play off the entire episode by saying he was only high on yet many individuals didn't get it. So I go out on the road and I'm strolling down the road and I hang tight for a light. I go across the road. Get the light and before you know it, you got amulets, firefighters, police officers, and every one of them out there bouncing on me. They got weapons. Now I was stowing away. No doubt I was hot. Yet more proof came out, proposing that Martin could have joined the clouded side of Hollywood when his profession took off with Large Mom's Home, carries us to a fascinating point, the pattern of people of color wearing dresses to support their professions. Martin's partner, Brandon T. Jackson, straightforwardly shared his second thoughts about wearing a dress close by Martin in Huge Mom's Home. He discussed how he felt forced to make it happen and what it meant for his profession and self-confidence considering that time. He conceded everything turned out badly when I put on that dress. As per Jackson, the pre-Large Mom time denoted a defining moment in his profession, keeping in mind that it brought positive viewpoints like expanded perceivability. Additionally, it had pessimistic ramifications for his own life. It was a revile that went with that by and by, because then nothing went right from that point forward. Hello, man, you thinking a lot of man. Sit, man, everything turned out badly. Everything went right. Everything turned out badly when I put on that dress, when I got some information about the changing point. Jackson explained that it was a negative shift. Sure, his face was put on transports, yet in the background, his own life was a wreck. As per him, it was a quite terrible time. It was a negative changing point to be straightforward. Okay, sure, in a manner where the view of my picture was on each transport. However, my own life was wrecked in that time. It was awful. The questioner squeezed him to spill more subtleties, and Jackson became genuinely about not having the option to share his story expressively in those days like being a child. Can't as yet convey he wasn't the carefully prepared stand-up. He is currently thinking back he uncovered that during the enormous mother's home time frame, he met his little girl's mom and starting there his own life became testing in spite of the fact that his vocation was at its pinnacle. It was a turbulent time for him by Jackson, compared it to a passing of the light, playing Martin Lawrence's child, and noticed that assuming such parts appeared to bring startling difficulties. When asked what turned out badly with Enormous Mom's Home, Jackson didn't gloss over he communicated that as he would see it, the film wasn't unreasonably great and was definitely not a productive film. Most importantly, no offense, that film wasn't that great to me, was certainly not a productive film. I sound so mean, like goodness you ugh. To be thankful for however I'm genuine, you realize simply be genuine, like it wasn't similar to the best film, while recognizing the diversion variable. He brought up that the idea of a man in a dress had been exaggerated, referring to Miss Doubtfire as a point of reference. Jackson conceded that he took on the job basically for the cash and the potential chance to work with Martin Lawrence. It was engaging, but not precisely an Oscar-nominated magnum opus. Brandon C. Jackson stressed that his choice to wear the dress in Enormous Mom's Home was propelled by something beyond cash. He was anxious to take a major action in his vocation. The questioner then, at that point, moved the concentration to Brandon's ongoing viewpoint, noticing that he appears to be more stirred than when he originally entered the business. Raising the dress again, the questioner inquired as to whether Brandon confronted analysis. At that point, Brandon explained that he didn't get reactions from individuals, with the exception of Will Smith, who reliably exhorted him against wearing a dress. At first, Brandon thought Williams was simply bothering him, but later understood that Williams was truly attempting to help him. Brandon conceded his own youthfulness at the time, having a guarded outlook on seeking after his vocation while confronting analysis. Williams, as it turned out, was endeavoring to caution him about them. Subscribe She Spice for more videos.